Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of EricksonTV. Curtis here with Lauren. Hello Lauren.
Hey Curtis.
Hey Lauren, I don't know if you realize this, but earlier this month, or late last month in February, we celebrated the 100th year anniversary of the current federal income tax code.
Now, those are some quiet celebrations.
I didn't see any parties or I don't even think I saw the media discussing it.
Yeah. Normally that would be a really big deal, your 100th birthday, but
right.
Oh well.
But interesting, so I saw this editorial in March 3rd, Sunday, Seattle Business Time, and the title was "Happy Birthday Federal Income Tax Code. Let's Party Like It's 1913."
Okay.
But as you kind of read into it, the bias of the editorial was, he thinks the income tax code is great.
Right.
He thinks it's, a way that we can pay our bills and, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't really want to get into a political discourse. But the interesting thing is, there's a lot of media attention right now about this sequester going on.
Right. Yeah.
And about how the president and the Congress cannot get together and come up with a budget to avoid the automatic spending cuts of the sequester. Okay.
Right.
So the fascinating thing to me is looking back at the history and how this all came into being of the income tax code. The interesting thing is that there was a temporary income tax code that President Lincoln put in to pay for the Civil War expenses, and it was like a temporary 2% income tax. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And then it went away.
Right.
And then we're back to. We were back to basically having all of our bills paid, the government bills paid by tariffs and things like that. Okay,
Right.
Taxes from products and things like that. So then, so the reason the income tax code came into being was that they had the Great San Francisco earthquake of 1906, and that put a huge dent in our economy. We had, of course, World War I was coming around, and we had our military buildup, and we had the bills from that. We basically had a really bad recession, and we had very little revenue coming in because of that recession.
Right.
So here's the fascinating thing. The income tax code is a big deal, right? You would agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Congress and Senate and the President unanimously came together and passed it in one vote to bring in the income tax, and 2/3 of the state, almost within that first year, ratified it. The whole income tax code came into being with very little political argument or discussion.
Or
it was very interesting. And now we're talking about just a sequester, today, without getting into political discourse, that they can't even agree on basically a budget for 1 year. That's the one issue. But there was also something going on that kind of relates to today. One of the reasons the income tax code was considered popular was that they felt like there was a big gap between the rich at that time in 1913 and the common wage earner. They said at the time the income tax code came into being, the top 1% of all wealthy people had about 1/3 of the income and wealth of the United States. So they said that was the reason, and that was the popular reason to bring in the income tax code, is, hey, we're going to redistribute the wealth and have it flow to other people, so the top 1% would not be such a dominant force of the economy. Interesting thing is, 100 years later today, with all the complications of our tax code, and just went through this, raising the rates to the rich. Right now, today, 43% of the wealth is held by the 1%. What's your takeaway from all this?
Okay. Well, so the first thing is that if you tried to finance the government entirely by tariffs, that would hurt poorest people the most,
right?
Because it would mostly be a tax on
the products,
purchasing products,
consuming things.
But the primary reason why wealth gets concentrated is because of government favors.
Right.
And that doesn't change based on your tax system.
Right.
I mean, you can if you're going to bail out Wall Street firms, which I don't care if it's politics or not, I think it's a terrible idea, that's going to create concentration of enormous wealth among the people. That's why one of the reasons I like working as a financial advisor. I tell people I'm trying to run Wall Street out of business,
right.
Which is entirely correct. But anyways, that will concentrate wealth, and it's not going to matter how you tax people.
Right.
So the income tax was certainly better than tariffs as far as being more equal, but it didn't stop the government from handing out favors.
Right. Okay. Well, so I'm just hoping that maybe our politicians of today will study history and say, you know what, whatever we need to get done, it shouldn't be that hard. Because if within a 12-month period, if they were able to put in an income tax code and have 2/3 of the states vote on to approve it, That shows us we can learn something from history.
We could.
All right, thank you for watching this episode of Erickson TV. We'll see you next time. Bye now.
See you next time.